It's Travanch, and we're here for another CFB breakdown video. This is actually a special edition. We are talking the 12. This is a Big 12 breakdown video, a segment specified or specifically for the Big 12 conference in our home conference. We give some love to the talent in the Big 12. So here we are throwing up that XXI or that XII, another season again. I am just enthusiastic to talk bell cows. All right. Bell cows are going to be the runners of the rock. These guys in general were more than talented last year. Big 12 put out an amazing product of running backs, especially translating into NFL drafts. You know, a lot of these professional teams were obsessed with the talent pool in last year. And I do want to disclaim that, talent has definitely fallen off a bit on the running back position in the Big 12. It's definitely a different type of runner. And so I'm going to allude to that a lot throughout the video, but I just want you to, fully be aware that there isn't a Scattaboo in this Big 12 conference this year. There isn't a DJ Giddens, Taj Brooks, an RJ Harvey. Those are just talented, stout, unique runners that I will have the pleasure of remembering for a lifetime and hopefully being able to see them on Sundays perform well. We have already seen some Big 12 implosion already on Sundays within the first 3 weeks, but that is besides the point. We're talking 2025, and we're talking the 12s, bell cows. Okay, so we'll start it off on the fifth one. We won't get too ahead of ourselves, all right? So with the fifth best bell cow in the Big 12, give me Abu Sama out of Iowa State. Abu Sama and Carson Hansen arguably have a top 3 running back core in the Big 12. They put out a great product last year, and the Cyclones stayed ahead of the chains with an efficient running game, and that is pretty much a huge component onto why they were so successful last year. I mean, they had an amazing passing game, but they were able to play complementary offense. And again, we're seeing that with this Cyclones team, just a really aggressive, hard-nosed football team that plays until the clock is ticked, right? They play till they see zeros on that scoreboard, and you can feel it and see it on the effort that they put out on every Saturday. And we will see it again this weekend, as it is a marquee matchup as they go up against the Wildcats. But I want to see Abu Sama run against Danny Gonzalez in that defense with the U of A Wildcats. I want to see what the running back duo can do in particular, because I do want to give my love to Hansen as well. I think him and Abu are very neck and neck with each other, but I think they are a running back by committee offense, and Iowa State and Matt Campbell do a great job at putting out these guys and putting them in situational plays that allows them to put out the best version of themselves, put out some good product. So fourth, now we're talking about some more skillful running backs this year, more guys that look third down worthy, right? Bell cows usually alludes to a running back that can play from first quarter, first minute to the last minute, fourth quarter. And they put out a product that is consistent, right? Their teams and the identity around the teams is reliant on the progression of these bell cows throughout the season, how healthy these bell cows can remain. And so we're going to see a lot more skill set based bell cows. And so this fourth one right here is going to be Raleek Brown. Give me Leek out of ASU. Leek has been waiting for his moment, previously at USC, tenured as a Trojan, and then coming over here to Sun Devil, having a pseudo redshirt year last year, but it was actually more injury-induced. Leek had to sit the entire year, didn't get to put out any film, and you can tell he has been a lightning in a bottle this year. He has done everything we've seen. He actually has the longest rush in the conference, but I think what has really impressed me with Leek's game is our reliance on him as our core piece in this identity. We are still a running team as Sun Devils, and we heavily rely on the game of complementary offense. So even though we do have a first-round worthy quarterback, a top 10 lottery pick worthy Jordan Tyson at receiver, it still does not minimize the importance of having a run game, and Raleek Brown has done that. He's been consistent, and I can't wait to see what him and Ye Udo can do this year as a running back tandem. But more importantly, adding Sip Brown Kyson Brown will become a top 5 bell cow by the end of the season. Mark my words, if he remains healthy. If injury health permits, I want to see Raleek Brown in this top 5 because I do see him as a Sunday player to be. Third, give me Ismail Mahidi out of Texas State, originally a Bobcat, now a Wildcat. And the transfusion of Mahidi's run game has done wonders. You can tell in the comfortability of Noah Fafita and this Daggy offense. U of A definitely looks a little bit more aggressive, but it's more of a calculated aggression, right? They move with the momentum of Mahidi's run game. They move with the momentum of how efficient Fafita can keep this passing game and continuously move the chains. This offense can be dangerous if there is a complementary approach. And that was the problem with last year. They were too one-dimensional, overly reliant on finesse, and they weren't going to succeed in this conference. You have to have a balance. You can have the finesse, but more often than not, it's going to be the losing component to your offensive identity because you're putting yourself at more turnover-worthy plays and when you're playing a finesse offense. But Mahidi and his grounded running game, his aggressiveness in between the tackles, this guy is hard to bring down, and I love his explosiveness when he gets into the second level. The main factor to stopping Mahidi in this running game is just getting him before the second level. You have to try to get him behind the line of scrimmage, stop his momentum before it starts to pick up. So I like Mahidi against some lesser opponents in the Big 12, some lesser quality running defenses. Mahidi can definitely have a field day. Now, when we're going up against an Iowa State Cyclones defense, this is probably an environment where he can nurture, right? I want to see him succeed going into, Matt Campbell's Busy Ames, Iowa atmosphere. I want to see what this running game can do because I am fully bought in that the blueprint to beating the Iowa State Cyclones will always be to have a run game and to play good defense. So if Mahidi can lock in this Saturday and go into Ames, Iowa and sustain his running approach, I can see U of A sneaking this one out. But of course, this is on the legs of Ismail Mahidi, and I want to see him succeed, progress throughout the rest of the season. And I also want to see the offensive game plan, the way the play calling is oriented. I want to see it revolve around Mahidi's skill set. If I'm seeing Mahidi being forced into the bell cow position, that's when I'm starting to get a little bit anxious on how I project him into the rest of the season or to become a Sunday player. Now, numero dos, number 2, Big 12 bell cows. We are talking LJ Martin out of BYU. LJ Martin was previously tenured on my bell cow list last year. I think he had a few weeks. He had some good runs. Of course, some injury concerns in the beginning of the season last year. This year, I have seen him and Bear Bakayama definitely manage an efficient multi-dimensional run game, okay? With the threats of the quarterback run, with the threats of the power running of LJ Martin, and with the threats of his receiving abilities, LJ Martin has single-handedly provided stability for this offense. I was already, worried that BYU would come in and they would still show out and put the spotlight on that identity and continue to play that ground and pound offense, play that good defense, that hard-nosed identity and mentality that BYU is usually resonating with on a year in and year out basis. Now seeing LJ Martin as a potential Sunday player, I want to see what he can do this year. I want to see if this offense can rely on him because we are seeing BYU play some actual quality opponents this weekend. They're going into Folsom Field, into Boulder, Colorado, and I want to see if LJ Martin can sustain a running game on this Colorado defense. I think the priority for this Colorado team was addressing their trenches and bringing that physicality in their identity, right? I've seen the physicality implored into this identity. Now it's just about them shaping it all together and playing complementary football. So what I want to see from LJ Martin is, can you defy those odds? Can you go into Boulder, Colorado and play behind that hostile atmosphere and run the rock? Can you move those chains? And so BYU, there's a lot of people high on this team because they put out such a good product consistently and they have a really talented coach. And I'm not going to discount LJ Martin's ability to ball out this year, right? Like, I'm fully bought in this guy. I think he can do it. I think he can represent himself as a top 3 runner in the conference. But if you start to see some more turnovers with the youthfulness in Bear Bakhtiamar, or if you start to see some predictability with this offense, that's when LJ Martin may suffer. So if I see some predictability with this BYU offense, I'll probably be happy because I will know that they are a middleman in the conference. But this Saturday, you are put to the test. Can LJ Martin run on this Colorado defense? Colorado's defense, running-wise, is probably more middlemanning, but it was so heavily focused on. It's almost like you stressed it so much, you better see the results and the outcomes back it up. So I want to see what LJ Martin can do this Saturday, and I am excited to see how he will progress over the course of the season. Now, finally, our number 1 Big 12 runner. This one is very exciting. I want to give the flowers to this Baylor offense in Spavital because they are trying to feed the rock to Bryson Washington. They are trying to keep this a balanced approach. And that will be probably the single-handed reason to their success is if they play complementary offense, multidimensional, and they let their skill players play confident. And so Bryson Washington is undoubtedly the best running back in the Big 12 right now. He did it on the best run defense in the Big 12 this Saturday, put out a great product, and I think he will continue to do it every single week. My thing is, will it translate into Sunday ball? And I think Bryson Washington doesn't crack top 5 in last year's group. This is a different year's group. We're looking at a different sample size, and so maybe he does crack number 1, and maybe he can sustain that position. But I want to see him in a lot more uncomfortable environments, and I want to see what he can do. So some more away games, we'll see what Bryson Washington can do. He's already run up against some very stout defenses, and that's why I am giving him this number 1 crown, because you can't just go up against these very quality defenses in the running game and put out that great a product, and then for me to minimize that. That is just a phenomenal job. Even stats-wise, you're backing it up right now. It's you and Leak in the top yardage standpoint within the conference. So I want to see what Bryson can do. I want to see what this Baylor offense can do, and I think this is a component of Bryson Washington can only go as far as this Baylor offense can go. So he might fall down. He might not be able to sustain this number 1 role. But right now, early in the season, considering how difficult the beginning of the season has been for Baylor, give me Bryson Washington. All right, some honorable mentions before we get out of here. I love some Dean Connors football. Shout out to you running in Houston, H-Town. Dean Connors is the definition of last chance you, right? Like, this guy just screams effort and commitment, and he feels like a Jalen Warren type of runner, right? Just a sneaky Big 12 runner that may go undrafted, but the NFL team that drafts him will end up seeking value from this guy. I love Dean Connors. He probably looks like a special teams merchant in the Sunday League, but we shall see. And then some other guys. Love when Cameron Dickey is running the rock for the Red Raiders. Again, I'm putting him as an honorable mention because he hasn't really shown me that bell cow mentality yet, but he looks talented. He looks like a great runner and a stout Big 12 runner. And then I want to give some love to the Kansas bell cow duo. I love me some LaShawn Williams, Daniel Highshaw Jr. football. They run the rock aggressively. This team and this offense will only go as far as how consistent they can stay. So again, Kansas and Baylor, very talented skill set players, but it is all about the scheme, their identity. How well can they execute those two things, and can they play and coalesce with each other in terms of passing and running the ball? So this is a Big 12 segment presented by Travanci, hosted by the 480 Experience, another CFB breakdown. But more importantly, thank you so much for getting in on this 12 content. We will do some more, and for after this, you will see some more talent to be featured. Thank you so much for watching, okay? I'll be around.